I can see the live symbol
Yeah,
on the screen.
I think we are live. So I'm just waiting for the window to refresh it up and then maybe we can start. Okay, it's done now. So, hi everyone. Welcome to this panel discussion, which we are doing around how the startup ecosystem will take shape post COVID, because we have seen a lot of positive things happening now, and we have seen that we at least can see some hope that things will change to normal now. So there are a lot of questions that startup founders, have in their minds, particularly with regard to government support, how government support will take shape, in the post-COVID startup ecosystem, how the top, what will be the top focus sectors, किस sector में कितना investment आने के chances हैं, या फिर how the things will take shape in an overall manner. So I have a few of the panel members here with me. I'll be your moderator. My name is Krishnakant. I've been working with Lemon for driving this Innopreneurs Initiative. I have Lemon School of Entrepreneurship. I have Mr. N. Greesh Raju, who is the lead catalyst of Startup Acceleration Vertical at Lemon. And I have Dr. Tej with me from AIC Sikkim Manipal University. So I welcome you all here. And since two of my panel members are from the internal team only, and you moreover meet them very frequently, but I wanted to go to Dr. Tej first. So Dr. Tej, if you can quickly share, like in few words, how do you think how this startup ecosystem will particularly change, post COVID times?
Thank you, everyone at Lemon, Saurabh, Lakshmi, Krishnakant, and everyone here. But it's wonderful that we are having sessions like this so that we can deliberate on what we actually plan to take things forward. Things are likely to have a lot of change. Will not be the same as we are all assuming that will not be the same as what it was before, because a lot of things have happened where we feel that it'll be much easier for us to move forward, partly going virtual, and the hybrid model that is going to come up, which is going to be very interesting, and it needs to be seen as to how this will take things forward. For instance, startups located in tier 2, tier 3 cities, or in remote locations where access to many of the venture capitals and resources were very difficult, especially me coming from the northeastern part of India. The VC funds coming into this part was relatively difficult for us, and in fact resources like mentors were difficult to come, because you really need to travel about 2 days time to actually be there and then come back the next day, because you can't possibly come back on the same day. But having said that, moving to the virtual world, now I get access to some of the best mentors in the country. We are able to now today I'm able to talk to you. Otherwise you would have planned this, and probably one of us would have to travel up to your place, and the whole exercise would have taken a lot of effort, and in the process each one of us have our own engagement as well. So because of that, things have gone a little more closer, so to say. The globalized world has become a little more smaller from ever since the pandemic happened. It's for good in some way. I know the virus is not to be appreciated, but the outcome of what has happened, I think, is to be appreciated for people and startup coming from other inaccessible areas. Because now it's time for us to show and prove our mettle and say that we are also capable of doing like the bigger cities, or we don't have to go to Bangalore to do the best. You can still be there, and yet we
Yes.
can still do like the rest of the country. In fact, right, like the rest of the world. That is what I feel. We should be able to take things forward. Yeah, we will. Over to you.
Yeah, I think Dr. Tej, you spoke about it really, really well, since this digital penetration has increased, and since I have been personally running Innopreneurs, in Innopreneurs, we've been receiving around 70% of the startups from tier 2 or tier 3, or the smaller towns in the remote areas, right? And we have seen where, every time we have seen the best of the innovations come from these smaller towns only, not from the big cities. So that is what my observation also is. So let us move on to the next discussion point in this discussion. What do you think? What has been the most, the top three challenges which has been faced by the most affected startups and which has been faced by the most benefited startups. So I want you to ponder on both of these perspectives. So we have seen the most affected startups also during pandemic, and we have seen the most benefited ones also, right? So we have seen many of the startups turning to unicorns during this pandemic. So what do you think? What are these challenges? I mean, I want you to cover three of them for both of these startups if you can.
The question is for me, right? Yeah. So I'll just quickly, because I think I can tell you of one industry which is very badly affected, especially since I belong to this region and the entire state is almost dependent on this particular industry, and that is tourism. Because Sikkim and Darjeeling, I'm sure you all are aware, we are all dependent majorly on tourism as the major inflow of funds and for all kinds of revenue for that matter. So other allied businesses, people who are doing hotels and the taxis, and so all associated with tourism related also get affected. So a huge amount of startups who are working on, a huge number of startups who are working on tourism tech, or maybe into all those aggregators who are actually even for that matter the restaurants and the food industry, where they were serving to a particular segment of tourism. For instance, giving you a very simple example, Sikkim, a very small state with about 7 lakh population, has an inbound tourists of 14 lakh the previous year, just before the pandemic, and we were expecting this to grow year on year basis, but then the pandemic happened and then everything closes. But since 14 lakh inbound tourists was coming, there was a huge amount of investment that has taken place, thinking that the next year is going to be even more better. So but unfortunately the pandemic closed down and those investments were all lost. I will not say it's completely lost, but it has gone very, very slow. It affected terribly. But having said that, there were other startups which were on a different segment, those who are working on IT, and especially the ones who have adopted technology, they did not suffer that much of a problem. Having said that, tourism related technology also did not do well. However, those who are working on tourism segments which could pivot during this time. For example, I could talk about a startup who actually have has a lot of aggregator of taxis for the tourists. What they did during this time was, a lot of farmers, they had their farm produce. But since the lockdown was there and they could not actually reach from the farm to the table, you could not reach to the consumer, and a lot of foods were wasted. So what this guy did was, they actually went to the government and said that we could make use of our taxi and we could start delivering. They were supposed to pay the EMI for the taxis, the Innovas, and then they were supposed to also pay the drivers. Otherwise, they would have to fire those drivers and then get them once the pandemic is over. Unfortunately, that would have been very, very bad for the whole ecosystem around here. So what they did, one of the startups who were working with us in the incubator, what they did was, they started connecting to the farmers. They got all the farm produce to the city, and they started delivering, and then they charge about a 10% of it. The farmers were happy because the food were not getting lost, their produce were not getting lost, the driver was able to pay their salary, and then at the same time the vehicles, the EMI, they were able to pay all of it. So they aggregated the drivers, all of them were benefited in that way. So those people who could actually pivot during this time, they were also they were able to think of an innovative idea, at least though it was small, but then at least they could sustain, and their run rate was extended by a few months. Otherwise they would have closed down in such a difficult scenario. That did happen in one of the startups. Having said that, if you look at the history of all this economic slowdown, if you look at all the big companies that has come up, if you look at Microsoft, if you look at many of these big companies that you see, this all happened during the economic recessions. You can remember all of it, and you'll say that each time there is a complete lockdown, each time there is a complete market chaos, it seems like some unicorns are coming out. And this pandemic is not an exception. We see a lot of unicorns coming out of it. I think the only thing that we have to look forward in making things grow is, in my opinion, and I'm sure many of you will also agree, because I think the data will also back us up in this, because those who were able to think a little differently, those who could actually pivot and make things a little differently from the conventional methods, probably they all could survive and they were all able to scale. This is what my opinions are on this particular thing.
Yeah. So to sum up, the challenges which you've covered is, like, you spoke about the business forecasting based investment. investments. Uh, like a lot of sectors lost that, and you covered it really, really right. And the second sort of challenge which I like to sum up here is that you spoke about, this agriculture startup also who somehow inculcated the technology part in their business models, and they pivoted, and that's how they, continue with their monthly revenue run rate. So that's what the tech inculcation and the forecasting based investment. So these are the two challenges I could figure out, and you covered it really, really well. Thank you for the examples. I like to go to Lieutenant Colonel Saurabh with the same question. So, sir, what do you think? What are some challenges you see have been faced by the most affected startups and the most benefited startups?
Yeah, thank you, Krishnakant, for initiating this topic, and it's nicely brought out by Dr. Tej also. Hospitality sector, I think, yes, we understand it has taken a back beating. The food sector did take a back beating and during the lockdown, but things are improved with them, with a lot of things going online. And the other sector also, which I think is the entertainment sector, which also was badly hit. But many people have pivoted in the entertainment industry. The OTT platform has suddenly become the platform for all the entertainment people to be there. So everybody has to be there on OTT. Like earlier, only cinemas were there. Then the TV came in, so people started moving towards TV. Then the cable TV came in. Everybody wanted to go to cable TV, and now this OTT. So all the entertainment has shifted towards OTT platforms. Yes, in terms of challenges, I think there are a lot of revenue losses which did take place, because of which the cash flow stopped. The industries were running short of cash, and then the retention of the staff. Though the industry did not want to lay them off, their retention became very difficult. A lot of people worked for a lower salary. Their perks were cut down. They were okay. They were not wanting to be laid down. And then there's a lot of online competition which has come to the brick and mortar stores. Whichever platform we go, the restaurants, now they're competing with the online cloud kitchens. So the all those factors have come in with these new challenges which are coming in day by day. So the competition between the online and offline is getting more tougher and tougher. And the people who flourished, so there were a lot of supply chain disruption issues. So if I wanted to, if I say the e-commerce wanted to flourish, but then they had a lot of supply chain issues. They were not able to get the last mile delivery done. They had issues of uh, transporting things, which have now been overcome over a period of time. But then the connectivity of internet, which is not so good yet, so penetration to the far flung area. So internet connectivity also gets is a challenge for all these people who are flourishing on the tech based environment. And the remote work culture, which has come in this new culture, wherein the people do say that the productivity has increased now, but this is also questionable because we uh, we have a culture where the manager oversees a particular function in an office, and he's trying to get into a productive phase. So, and there are a lot of work from home problems altogether, because husband wife both working. So a lot of issues are there. So a lot of mental what I say, the psychological problems which have come up because of being in a particular place, and which has also resulted in, I think, what we are now seeing is revenge travel. What people are talking of revenge travel. The moment something opens up, everybody rushes to that place for revenge travel. So this is, I think, this culture which has come in. So these are the few challenges, and most of the challenges have been taken in right spirit. People have pivoted. Most of them have pivoted, and they have continued their entrepreneurial journey. Very few of them, they must have taken a break and pivoted again. So I think the challenges are good. People have been shaken out of their comfort zone. So that's my take, Krishnakant.
Yes. So thank you so much, sir, for summing this entire scenario, in these 2 minutes. Just to sum up the challenges you spoke about, the revenue challenge, the typical challenges, which is revenue, people, the survival issues, online versus offline competition for the affected startups and for the startups who have been benefiting from this pandemic. You spoke about the logistical issues with them. So you spoke about the internet connectivity issues in the far-flung areas. And then you spoke about the general sort of challenges which everybody has faced, be it work from home, be it, the psychological issues, or be it the revenge travel one. So like, thank you so much for summing this entire scenario, because this will be helpful for us going further in this discussion. Maybe I'll go ahead and ask you one question which is related to this.
I think we have these technological challenges everywhere. So I think we'll get Krishnakant back. I think that's the thing. So we will just wait for him to join. I think he'll be joining first. So I'll take the things ahead with Dr. Tej by the time Krishnakant comes in. So you have been in the complete this AIC and all those things. You have been working with the AIC. So what do you think about the government support which is happening to the startups post COVID? Dr. Tej, yeah, Krish. Krish, I asked Dr. Tej about the government support which is for the post-COVID scenario. How are the government supporting?
Yes, I was about to come on that since we've covered all the challenges. So I also wanted to ask the same question from Dr. Tej. So Dr. Tej, maybe if you can continue.
Okay. I would like to say, there has been efforts from the government, both from the central government as well as from the state governments, taking various initiatives, trying to, reach out, especially for us in the tourism sector. As I was giving you an example, in the state level, a lot of intervention coming in from the state government, trying to help the startups in whatever ways they can. And in fact, even the civil society is coming forward and trying to help, as to how much we can actually support and make them help. There are new people's initiative, not just from the government as well. Also, I think there's something known as, because most of the states have started locking down within the state, and they're not allowed to, interstate movements have been restricted, especially in the Northeast. So, I think it was also prevalent in many of the states. So what happened was the local people trying to, support the tourism industry, at least in my place, there was a new thing that has come in called as the staycation, where you stay for a few days within the same state, and then you go into a hotel and enjoy the luxury of your same place. So having said that, a lot of people from across the country come to Sikkim and see the entire state. But they say Sikkim is such a beautiful place, and for people like us, I have to be very honest, I have not seen all the parts of the state. So people don't generally pay attention to the local district. So I think this is coming from the private sectors, because the government has created that much of awareness, saying that these are the problem areas. That is, I think that itself is a very good sign, and I think interventions are also definitely coming forth. But the only issue that I find, which I would say is a small gap which needs to be, plugged in, is like, whenever the government rolls out any initiatives or any of this, schemes, and which are basically interventions to help. Unfortunately, especially the ones in the tier 1, tier 2 cities, or sorry, it's the underserved regions, I would rather say. What happens is the scheme, though it is rolled out, the kind of awareness is relatively low. I think this was one of the reasons why we are already an underserved region. I think this needs to be a little more actively, taken up, so that we can ensure that this is reached to the right set of things. So, as an incubator, I think we are the enabler and we are the ecosystem player. I think we have a big role in doing this ourselves, because we can't always blame the government. When the government gives you, we cannot always say that it's not available. It's partly because of the awareness. When we say awareness is not there, we cannot blame the government in that case, because it is us at the end of the day who is not looking for knowledge. When we are not seeking knowledge, then probably nobody's going to give. If I don't go to school, I'm not going to learn. As bad as that. So what I'm trying to tell you is, even if it is available, if the resources are available, it is we ourselves have to seek out and look for it and see whether it's available. And probably we as incubators should play a major role. And I think we, in our own capacity, we have been trying to play that role, and trying to reach out and share what is available, trying to bring in the experts, and convey the message that these are available for us, for grabs. And I think this is again important. But I still know that India being a very large country with so many the population being almost pretty large, and trying to reach out to everybody may not be always possible. But these challenges are again something that we as enablers should also see and innovate and see where all we can actually plug these gaps also. So I think all in all, I would prefer to say that it is not just the government. Once the awareness is created to the public also, then the public also, definitely there are a lot of people who really want to come in and help, who really wanted to see it, because we see a lot of good people on the internet. We see a lot of good people on Facebook these days, right? A lot of people trying to help, so everybody wants to be good. I think no human beings are so bad the way we have always looked at, but I think deep within all of us are good. But I think the only thing that we have to do is we have to show and tell the other person that I need help. For instance, I reached out to Colonel Saurabh and said that, okay, these are the things I need in my region. He is very kind, and he reached out and said, well, whatever we can, we'll try to help. It's all about me reaching out to the right set of people. So I am able to come and talk to you today because I reached out to you and you said, okay, this is where we all can work together. So reaching out is a very important thing. I think this is what our startup founders should also do. Maybe communicate with each other and see if I know something, maybe they can learn from me. And if they learn from somebody else, there's nothing wrong in putting things together. Because at the end of the day, we keep talking about government. Who is a government? At the end of the day, we are the government. We are the people. It's for us. So definitely we have to look at ourselves and introspect, and all of us have to grow together. That's what my opinions are.
All right. So I would want to go with the same question to Girish ji now. So Girish sir, what do you think? What are your views on this question? How has the government scenario been, framed up during this pandemic, and how it will be in the coming times, looking at the current schemes which are getting launched? Dr. Tej spoke about we should not rely on government. We should start reaching out because everything is going well. Enablers are doing their part. You just need to reach out and seek help, and you will be sorted then. So what's your views on this, Girish sir?
Yeah, thanks, Krish. Two things which I would like to mention here is one, there has been a clear difference in the way we have started living our lives. Earlier, it was kind of, we were having focus issues were very different. Now it has come back to the basics, staying alive, staying through the first wave, second wave, maybe the third wave, whatever happens, we are trying to just stay afloat. Most of the people. So there have been two kind of businesses that has been happening. One, which is like kind of as Dr. Saurabh said, as Mr. Saurabh said, entertainment industry, traveling and tourism. This is what has got affected. But on the other side, if you see a lot of kind of what Krish you mentioned, like the cloud kitchens and the deliveries and these kind of things have come up big time, and there has been a huge difference in terms of how they have kind of scaled up. if you see in a pre-COVID scenario, if I take an example of the hospitality industry, take the restaurants and the eateries and all those, you would always love to go out and eat with your friends, family, colleagues, and everyone. Now that is not available actually. You can't go out and sit in a coffee shop and sit for half an hour and do it. You have to bring that coffee to your home and drink it alone or on a Zoom call like this. So what has happened is there's a huge shift in terms of, and these kitchens were still existent at that time. If you take a specific this thing of the food industry, these kitchens were existent, but they were not doing business that much. Now the restaurants, it's kind of a swap of places which has happened. The restaurants who were spending huge amounts on their infrastructure and services, they are now sitting tight and they are not able to generate revenues, while the cloud kitchens who are working out of a 10 by 10 shop and delivering, they are doing business 24/7. So there's been a shift in terms of how people now are enjoying things in their life, if I can say so, in these COVID times also. So there has been a huge shift in terms of that, and the economies of scales have also been shifted. Like earlier, anybody would be preferring to say travel would be one of the reasons of to spend money. Entertainment would be another. Now you pay say 1,500, 2,000 per OTT platform, which Saurabh sir said, year, and you get everything on your mobile or laptop, or you can stream it on your TV also. So that has taken place. So the cost of the entertainment is down, but the content and everything is more and more required. Everybody is now waiting for something getting released every week, every day, every month. So that is what is happening. So if you take again the entertainment side of it, sports earlier were for the fans. Now it is, you have empty stadiums. Most of the time, 90% of the sports which is happening is on empty stadiums, except what's happening in Europe and other places. But in Asia and other countries, we are having where sports are on empty stadiums. You are watching it's whatever number of people who are watching it live, like people watching us now. This was not possible earlier. You would not have a kind session of this kind, as Dr. Tej said. Pre-COVID, you could not have this session. People would not be watching us now. So there's a huge difference in terms of what was happening earlier and what is happening now. And I would say the four, I would try to point out here. One is the top four sectors in which I feel have gained a huge amount of relevance now is, number one is obviously the health sector, which is kind of, there's a huge shift in terms of people focusing on the health sector, the government and the private both. So what has happened here in, like I can say for my place where I am based out of Nagpur, a lot of hotels which got converted into hospitals, where people were admitted during COVID times who would not require, say, anything more than a cylinder of oxygen, and daycare is what they would be required. Anybody a bit serious than that would be shifted to a hospital in an ICU. There were many hotels which converted into a hospital. That gave us two perspectives. One, the hotel industry again kind of revived in terms of trying to stay afloat, which I said earlier is very important to stay afloat. See the next month, see the next quarter, see the next year. So that is one thing. Health sector is kind of gained a huge amount of I will not say boost boost would be a wrong word to quote in these times, but it's kind of got a huge kickstart in terms of what is happening in the health sector, and the focus is there. And if the startups who are helping out in terms of getting the health sector to the last mile or the last person available, then that they would kind of flourish for the next coming n number of years. COVID hai nahi hai doesn't matter. They will flourish. The second one is what I would say is similar to the health sector is the welfare sector, which is kind of a lot of people got jobless, got homeless. They were stranded at different places. So the kind of people supporting them, helping them out, and helping each other in these difficult times was one. And if people bringing up startups and startups helping you out in terms of getting through each other through various platforms and various ideas, that would be a sector which would kind of stay on for long. And I would say education sector would be the third in my list in terms of how it has been affected and how it has grown. Albeit the breadth in terms of the last mile reach, in terms of the network and the connectivity issues at the ground level. Tier 3, tier 4 cities are even getting online in terms of the education sector. But I would like to point out one very important thing: the children are losing out a bit. It's not just about attending classes and getting information or getting educated about a particular subject or something. It was all about uh, your classmates, your friends, your circle, the kind of entertainment you would do in a school while the teacher would be teaching you. That all has gone missing. So if I ask all the people here who are in this panel right now, what is the best time they would always spend there in life, it would be school time. But unfortunately, these kids are missing it. But education sector is something which is going to stay. I don't know how things will turn up, but we could never imagine a school life, a child's life without a 10th or 12th exams. Now this has happened already. So I don't know how relevant the examination pattern and things would be. Now we are in the transition stage in terms of the education sector. And last but not the least, technology is something which is a very main focus sector, which everybody kind needs to adopt, because even in the financial sector, you would never would you ever imagine a person working in a bank working from home? Not possible. It was absolutely not possible. People in a bank working from home, and that has happened. Maybe not in the government sector, but in the private sector, it has happened that 33% or 35% or 40% of the employees were working from home week on week. And there is a private sector bank's MD who's come out with a statement that going forward, these people are never going to come back to the bank. They are going to save a lot on the time and space and the infrastructure and the cost on each employee which they spend. So anything related to tech, like if you say what Saurabh sir always says, health tech, ed tech, any sector you add technology and that gets a boost up in terms if you are making it easy for the customer or the end user getting great access to it. So this is what I would like to mention in terms of what's happening in the post-COVID scenario. Over to you, Krish.
Thank you so much, sir, for summing this up and for letting us know the top focus sectors beyond COVID, like in the post-COVID world. I would want to go to Colonel Saurav now. Saurav, sir, we all saw this cabinet reshuffling recently, right? This has been a big news across the country and internationally as well. What do you think? What does it mean for startups? What does it mean for startup ecosystem? Can you comment
Yeah,
on this?
so I think this is a continuation of government support we started in 2014 policy releasing for Startup
Yeah.
India. And over a period of time, we see this India moving up 80 ranks in ease of doing business in 2000 from 2015 to 2020. And we have got a lot of startup policy placed in almost 26 states have the startup policy. And there's a lot of support given by the government, changes in MSME definition which took place last year. So if I see the government is continuously progressing towards this, and the present what changes we saw in the ministry. So if you see MSME ministry was till now we had Shri Nitin Gadkari ji, who was also having another ministry under him. So his time must have been getting bifurcated within the two ministries, though he did a wonderful job in both the ministries. Now we have a dedicated person, a dedicated minister coming into MSME who will, with his contribution of not getting his time bifurcated, he will have a lot of things for the startups to take from the MSME department. Then we have the skill ministry and the education ministry getting under the same ministers. So we have one top person who will be handling both these important the ministries, which are again leading to a lot of startups specific initiatives. And so a lot of new things are happening. The cabinet is getting younger. A lot of young people have come into the cabinet, and I think that will make a lot of difference when we go further. So nothing political about it. It's only a policy, I think, which is a continuation policy, which is being followed by the government. And whenever they think that something is not working or something more better can be done, I think that's how it has been taken in this. And the startups are going to, yes. See, if I give a data to you on the startups scenario, so we had 10 unicorns in 2020. So we have 10 unicorns which came up, so like Pine Labs, Car24, Unacademy, so then Zenoti, Postman, Razorpay, Nekia, Daily Hunt, Glance. So these are some of the which have spoken. Then in the year 2021, since starting of this year until the last 6 months, we have 16 unicorns. In 2021, in the half of the year has just passed by, and we have got 16 unicorns. So it does say that yes, government policies are working, they are getting benefits, and we have 16 unicorns. It is something like, and we have VC investment which has grown 33% year on year for first 6 months in 2021. So earlier we had last year, if we had $20.4 billion worth of deals, and the number of deals were 433 deals. And then first 6 months of 2021, we have $27.1 billion deal, and we have 442 deals. So you can see there's a 33% jump. So, and where is this jump coming from? So you have major chunk which is IT, then IT as IT enabled services, and healthcare. So the major chunk of, you see, if you whatever investments have come is there, and then followed is by healthcare and life sciences. So all these are adding to this. In 2019, we had only 1,300 new startups, whereas in 2020 we have 7,000 companies registered in India. And this was a time when the pandemic has hit, right? So there is a shift, there is a mind shift, there is a change in people thinking that we have to do something on our own, get more job creations done in India. And I think this is what is happening as a government support, as a whatever form of policy formation they are doing, and the way they have reshuffled the cabinet. I think a lot of things are expected for the startups at least. That's my take, Krishna.
All right. So considering the investment scenarios and the other things that are happening in startup ecosystem, we can literally say that these schemes are really working. We have seen Saurabh sir already spoke about various investments that we had in 2020 and in the first 6 months of 2021. I want to put my focus specifically on the incubators pool across the country. It has increased tremendously. You see the incubators by MSME, you see the incubators by smart cities, you see the incubators by Atal Innovation Mission, and you see the incubators by state-led agencies. So there are a lot of state-led programs which various state governments have been running. So there is a boost that we had seen, in this pandemic time, in the incubation, like in this incubator network also across the country. And this is what have been happening on the government side, and this government reshuffling of this cabinets. This means in a positive way for the startup ecosystem for sure. Thank you so much, Saurabh sir, for putting in your insights on the investments front particularly. Dr. Tej, I wanted to understand from you, since you spoke about the business forecasting based investment loss in the very first beginning of this discussion, I wanted to put some thoughts on how this will take shape, in the post-COVID world. So what do you think? What would happen to these businesses and maybe in travel or maybe some other sectors also? So your thoughts, please.
See, I just wanted to put things a little differently from, gathering all the, knowledge that I've gained from today's session. I just want to put things together in a sense, like there are a lot of good things as well as bad things that have happened. I have majorly projected on the benefits of being located and, technologically connected and all those stuff. Having said that, we in India have, all of us have not really considered the harder part of working from home. For instance, as we speak, children who has to come and sit on, who likes to come. We have small children, small kids in the house who loves to come and sit on your lap. Now we have to stop them and say that we are in a meeting, and this is a psychological barrier that we are creating for the children, which we have never looked at. Because the moment you come back from work, your children rush to you, and they could anyway play with you and do, because they feel that you're home, and you as parents are home, and the comfort that we used to be there has been taken away. So when we say work from home, psychologically we have eaten up a part of their space of people who actually live at home. So this is something that nobody talks about in today's world. So this is a psychological impact that is going to last forever if we continue even in the hybrid model, because as I speak, as you all speak, we expect our children to stay away from the room where we are, because they are not supposed to come in. They're not supposed to make noise. So the psychological barrier is going to be difficult, and it's going to take some time for us, to get acclimatized to this and make sure that, things move on. Having said that, we also have on the other benefits of it. For instance, I will tell you of investors. Most of the investors, I'm sure there are many who would also be, looking up at the conversations we are having. So what I feel is, many of them were inaccessible to many of these places earlier, because they are very busy with their money and they wanted to stay very close to their money as well. That's a kind of opinion there, because it's perfectly okay, because it's hard-earned money. They want to stay as close as possible to their money. But now that the travel have been banned, there is no way they can actually travel. So it is perfectly okay as long as you are connected. So the region, the underserved region and the remotely located regions are basically, getting that opportunity which was never available to them. Post-pandemic, I think even if things open up, the investors will be much more open, unlike before, because they would like to travel. They would like to travel to any cities which you can go in the morning and come back in the evening. That's the kind of opinion they wanted to invest in, only in those places. But during this pandemic, they still continue to invest, and they are looking forward to investing even further, to those places which they would have otherwise not gone. So, but because there are also technology developments taking place from all this region as well. If you look at the early days of Ola, or for that matter, if you look at Uber, for Oyo for that matter, it started from Bhubaneswar, where in those days investments would have not been really considered to be a good choice, because the investors generally prefer Delhi, Mumbai, and Bangalore. That's a choice of place for them, because you can go in the morning, come back, as if you went to office and came back in the evening. But today, since the connectivity is faster, you have the way to monitor it. So I feel we should be more happy in on those terms of post-COVID scenario for the startup from the investment perspective. And this basically when we say that, a lot of times we definitely say that money should not be always the top priority, but without that, growth will also not be possible. That's always there. But having said that, it becomes a little easier from my perspective. I think things will get a little more easier, even if the COVID things goes away, and if everything opens up. I think there will be a new perspective, because the perspective have changed for the investors, and they would like to open up to investment to more of this region as well. That's what my opinions are. Yeah, thank you. That's it.
All right. Thank you so much, Tesher, for bringing this in. Since this perspective for investments in the small cities have changed a lot, and we have seen a lot of deals happening, particularly in the early stage startups in the smaller towns of India in 2021 specifically. So I wanted to sum up my learnings from this particular discussion, and then maybe I'll go to every one of you for the closure note. Uh, what I could figure out from this particular discussion is that post-COVID world, the most affected sectors will be in focus, be it health, be it travel, be it education, because now like the investors and other people are also focusing on to see how these sectors will take shape. So we have seen in the stock markets as well. So be it the share of SpiceJet, be it the share of any other hotel company, they have been in focus, and that's what I mean is going to continue in the startup ecosystem as well. uh, there will going to be an hybrid model in everything, wherein we'll be continuing working from home and maybe from office. There will be a combination of online plus offline in almost in everything. uh, there will be lifestyle changes that we'll see in the upcoming days, because we have somehow compromised our like the things which we used to do at our homes. So this is one thing. And the another thing is the perspective for everyone. It has been changed tremendously. So be it investors, be it your your customers, be it your teammates, because we used to think that you are at home, you're not working, but now if you are at home, you're working more productively, right? So the perspective for every stakeholders have been changed, and this is going to shape really really interestingly, maybe in the hybrid model, or let's see how it unfolds. So this has been few of my learnings. We have discussed a lot of real life scenarios, be it from Northeast, which has been discussed by Dr. Tej, be it from Maharashtra, or maybe from banking sector, which has been pointed out by Girish sir, be it from government side or maybe from investment side, which has been spoken by Saurabh sir. So I'll now go to Girish sir first for the closure note. So at last, what do you want to say to the audience, Girish sir?
Yeah, so it is this post-COVID times or the COVID times which is continuing. Post-COVID will happen once the COVID gets over. Hopefully, it happens fast. So it will be basically of two things will be of very prime importance. One is how you adapt to things which are changing, how you kind of adapt to technology. Like in the financial sector, if you see pre-COVID times, if there would be 100 customers in the financial sector, only 5 or 10 people would be having their online
Yes.
activations done. Now that has gone up to say 70 or 80. So how people adapt to the change, how people adapt to technology, how people adapt to the current scenario, as Dr. Tej said, people working from home, children barging in between the calls, not happening, that kind of a situation, how things would change, how people will adapt. Adaption will be adoption of the change in technology, in terms of the culture, in terms, now I don't have a colleague sitting next to me working and just asking him something. I'll have to either send him a message on WhatsApp or call him up or do a call or something like that. The boss comes out of his cabin and throws three things to his subordinates. Ye karna hai. That doesn't happen. Now he has to arrange for a call and everything. So that is one thing. How people adapt to this and how fast they adapt to this. The first mover advantage will always be there for people who adopt this immediately and get on it, because there are two things attached to this. One is they save a huge amount of time and cost in terms of travel, infrastructure, and everything. Right now, the companies are using your home as their infrastructure, more so happening in the software field. So number one, as I said, adoption, and number two is how you kind of manage your mindset. That okay, now it is not possible that I go out and sit in the evening with my friends in the coffee shop or a bar. Doesn't happen now. So these are the changes. I don't have colleagues working around me. I don't have people who can have access in an office. I can go and speak to them. I don't have HR guy sitting next to me or sitting across. I don't have an admin guy sitting across. Everything is I am the HR, I am the admin, I am the person who is executing everything. So how my mind adapts to all this is very important. And if these three things, if you become the first mover and kind of adopt and move on, let off your old baggage, that is going to be the way ahead, is what I feel. Post COVID or the COVID times, if it continues for long, which I hope does not. So that's all from my side, Krish.
All right. So I think adaptation is the key which you spoke about. Maybe I'll go to Saurabh sir. Saurabh sir, your closing thoughts for this discussion?
Yeah, I only have one line. That is, tough time never lasts, but the tough people do. And that's what shows. And that's what shows with the startups also. That's all I have to say.
All right. Thank you so much, sir, for this wonderful quote. I would request our audience also to please mark their learnings in the comments. We'll be seeing that up and we'll just see how the response has been. We're going to conduct such discussions on various interesting topics every month. You will be informed accordingly if you are in our mailing list. If you are not, just join our mailing list or maybe join our YouTube channel or follow us on social media. You will get informed there. So at least for the next 1 year, we have decided to do such panel discussions once in every month. There are a lot of community initiatives which we have been running. There is one podcast which we have been running every week on Wednesday 9 p.m. There is one intense discussion which we do with the entrepreneurs. So this podcast also you can do. You will get the details if you follow our social media pages. There is one discussion which we do called Gupshup, right? It's with the founder of Lemon Ideas called Deepak Manadia. This is a very closed room informal discussion, and only an invite only discussion. So if you wanted to join that, you can join the waiting list and maybe you will receive the invite accordingly. So these are few of the community initiatives which we have been running and we have recently started, and this is going to continue at least for a year. So would request you to follow our social media handles for the communication and join our Discord community, particularly if you are not there. Thank you so much for joining us for this panel discussion. We'll see you again on YouTube next month, and we'll see you on Wednesday 9 p.m. in the upcoming week if you're joining the Discord channel, to meet you on the interesting topics. Thank you